The website, check out all the stuff there. Also, the Palisades Church of Christ, the Allons Church of Christ, and the Lads2Leaders program. This is the show. We've been gone for a couple of weeks, doing a couple of things, but now we're back with Caleb on the John Podine across the state. I am Paul Sperlin. This is the Johnny Paul Show.
Good morning, everybody. I am sitting here and I'm wondering if we're under attack in Montgomery, Paul.
So I'm starting this thing, and he's turning around looking out the window. I've decided Podine's not the only one going to have a window in the show. I got one too.
You did decide it. We're sitting here, and all of a sudden, a bunch of jets just fly by the campus here on Walter. So who knows what's going on outside? But we are here, and we are glad that you are here to be a part of it. And we've been gone for a couple weeks, but we are back today, Paul.
We're back, John, and a lot's happened in the past couple of weeks. What have you been up to?
Well, I have traveled a little bit.
You've traveled a little bit, yeah.
I've traveled a little bit. You've traveled a little bit on different things.
Yeah. I went to Bravo Land.
You did go to Bravo Land. I did not. I was in Louisville, Kentucky, though, Paul.
Cardinal Land.
Yeah, I did.
Louisville? Yeah, Cardinal Land. I did that right.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Palisades Convention was last weekend. We'll give a little wrap up on that in a few minutes. Yeah. And so, Caleb, if you'll mute your mic, we'll continue the show here. And so we're on the show. A lot of good things happening. A lot of good things going on with AIM. If you are not receiving the newsletter, you need to get that. It comes out the 15th of every month. Also, John, we have some big news we need to share about two events you and I are involved in.
We do, Paul. This is going to be so exciting. We hope everybody out there is listening and ready for this huge, huge announcement.
And we wanted it to happen at the very beginning, just in case later on they get bored and leave. We want to make sure that as you drink your sugar-ridden filth drink that causes cancer, I'm going to go ahead and talk about these two events. And the water's going to chase it down. That'll make it all better. Good job. So a lot on the docket for the show today, we're going to talk about some new events or some events with fixing to come out with registration that everyone needs to know about. We're going to talk about a few sports situations that happened. We'll talk a little Masters. We'll talk a little NFL draft last night. What surprised you? What didn't? Well, one thing, get it? One thing didn't surprise us. But anyway, we'll also do the wrap up for Lads2Leaders. Then we'll get to our topic of the day, and at the end of this all, we'll have our Versus series, which if you haven't voted yet, I think the time is up. But the numbers are in. Universal Studios versus Walt Disney World/Land. And so we'll be talking about that at the end of our show today. Right now, let's start up by talking about a couple of programs that are happening actually on Faulkner's campus. The first one is starts June 30th through the 4th of July, John.
That is correct. That is Inspire. It's our camp that we have here on campus. We'd love to have you and your youth group to come and be a part of it. Registration opens Wednesday.
5/1. Tuesday, 5/1.
Tuesday,
yeah.
Wednesday, whenever 5/1 is. I can't remember. I haven't slept much. Well, I have, but I still am trying to recover.
You better catch
yeah. But we want you to go ahead. Registration opens that day. Go ahead and register. We'd love to have you here. It's kind of an intimate setting. We have everybody here on campus, just like, if you go to Horizons at Freed or you go to other places, it's just camp here on campus. And you kind of we do things a little bit different. We kind of run it like it's a week here at school, actually, with, quote, chapel and with getting part of the social club activity in life, inviting everybody into the teams and doing things from intramurals to a jamboree show and everything else. So we try to have a good show. Who are our speakers this year, Paul?
Well, this year we have Andrew Ensign, our keynote speaker. He'll be there every day and every night and throughout the day. And the theme is freedom in Christ. And so sometimes I feel like we just don't realize the freedoms we do have. This will be a study of the book of Galatians. And so we'll be doing that. Also, we have Chad Landman coming in doing some digital strategy on from the Christian viewpoint. He'll be coming in and teaching a class, as well as Malvin Sanders will be coming in teaching under Kennemer. And some of our own guys on the board will be doing some teaching as well. Jonathan Anderson from up near Cookville will be speaking as well. And so a lot of really neat things happening for that. One thing that's unique to Inspire versus most any other summer camp, most summer camps start $150 to go up to $200 per person. This is $125, folks, $125 Sunday afternoon to Thursday morning. You get the full weekend to recover afterwards to get ready for the next camp, but $125, and it starts on May 1st and goes through the end of May. So if you register in May, it's $125. If you wait till June, it goes up to $150. So make sure you go ahead and get registered for that. It's really awesome. You get to eat in the calf, you get to go to the chapel like we do as students, and the food's good there, and we'll be going to the president's house and hanging out, doing some stuff. So you'll meet everybody. I mean, you'll be a part of. We're packing a full year of Faulkner into 1 week, and you'll participate in jamboree. You'll be participating in the intramural sports and things like that. Some goofy stuff, some fun stuff, but you're also going to grow together and learn a lot about Christ. And so it's going to be a great week.
Landon Olson got excited when he heard you say we get to eat in the calf.
Yeah, definitely going to eat in the calf.
Yeah, I know, Landon. I can see it right there. I can feel it through the computer screen that you got all excited about eating at the calf. The other thing that we have here on campus, Paul, will happen about a week or two after that, is something that's very near and dear to your heart, especially because you're kind of like the founder of it. Is AIMCon.
Yeah, the AIM conference will happen right there. We call it AIMCon. The 19th through 21st of July, always the third weekend of July. And so we start Friday afternoon and go through Sunday morning. And it's an evangelism conference for our teenagers, but also it's a youth workers conference for our adults. And we'll have anywhere from 75 to 100 adults that'll actually come in and be a part of that training. Lonnie Jones, for that part of it. We have Craig Evans and Drake Jenkins and others, Andrew Howell and others that'll be speaking, keynoting for the student part. And so it's really neat. A lot of talent coming in. We have what's called tribes for that, where people are broke up into different tribes and really get to know one another. And so the quality for that is just as good as the rest of it. It's really neat, very unique. And if you have the app and you enjoy the songs and you appreciate the teaching material we give you, well, we're putting it into action. And this is the AIM conference, AIMCon, 19 through 21. It's $50 per person. It also opens May 1st and goes through, I think, June the 20th. So make sure and do that and reserve your spot, because the spots on campus is limited, and you need to go ahead and get your stuff in as soon as you can.
Yeah. By the way, Landon did comment about the cafeteria. He's wondering if for Inspire we'd have grilled chicken Wednesday while we're there. Kind of keeping up with everything that takes place.
Probably so. I mean, it's just going to be very, very like you were at Faulkner, so it's going to be good.
Yeah, definitely is. So definitely go ahead and look at those two things. Go ahead and sign them up. It's not too late to start thinking about those things and registering and getting a part of it. Inspire and AIMCon both opened up May 1st, ready to begin registration, and I know we're going to have a great time with that.
Yeah. Something else not to forget is go down to the bottom corner of this show and hit that arrow and share the show everywhere you can, as I'm trying to, and I can't find it. So when you find it, you push the button, you can share this with everybody, and make sure and tell everybody about the John and Paul Show. We got some neat stuff to talk about and some more neat stuff to discuss as we go through this show, and then hopefully you'll share it. Also, don't forget about us on Twitter at JONAND Paul Show, and then the website is johnandpaulshow.com. And of course, don't forget all our other podcasts we have available there on the website at adventuresinministry.com. Have a new one for the ladies. Everybody seems to enjoy that, so please go there and participate in all the things we do, trying to help the brotherhood out a little bit. So
yeah, and we are going to be going on the road, Paul. I'll be hitting the road. In fact, I'll be live next week from Denver, Colorado, when we do the show.
Okay.
Will not be still there. I've already checked. I was hoping to see some snow, but it won't be. But I will be live from Denver, and then we will be live together at a special show that we want everybody to go ahead and mark down in August.
Kentucky.
Oh, we'll be in Kentucky.
After Fire, we're doing the road show. It's going to be awesome.
We are doing a show from Paintsville, Kentucky on Friday.
To be fair, we're going to start from either Montgomery or Birmingham, and from there we're going to take some, I guess, what you call them, vlogs as we go. We'll be vlogging all the way up the street to Kentucky, and if he can, we're going to pick up our producer and his team on the way. Get Caleb and all the crowd to join us as we go, and just, when we stop and get gas, we may take a video of it and talk about the biblical aspect of getting gas.
Pumping gas in your car.
There's something about that. I'm just telling you.
Anna, Paul. It's Anna.
We'll have the trip the whole way up, and the way back may be a little different. Maybe like, but going up some.
Guys, we're ready to go home. Bye.
Yeah, ready to go. See you later. I'm out. But yeah, it's going to be 7 hours of driving, and it'll end up being about 14 hours of entertainment. So it's going to be great.
Frodo said we better come through Franklin.
Well, we're going to Paintsville, and I got to be honest with you, my geography in Kentucky is not great, but it's getting better.
I think he told me Frankfort, and Frodo, you tell me if I'm wrong, it's just south of Lexington, right in that area, I think is what he told me. I may be getting a couple other places confused, but somewhere around in that area, I believe.
I would like to see Frodo. I didn't get the benefit of seeing him last week.
I did in Louisville, so it was awesome. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But in August, Paul, we're going to be doing a special road show.
Yes.
That we want everybody to make sure you mark your calendars down, because we want you to join and be a part of that show as well.
Is that a road show, or is it like a flying show?
We'll be there already.
We will be there, but we're not going to road. We're not going to road there. We're going to fly there.
We are going to fly there, and there will be some vlogs, I'm sure, because I'm going to vlog when Paul is in the middle of sleeping.
Oh, that's not cool. Stephanie says I snore. I never hear myself snore. I don't understand. I don't get it.
I've heard you snore.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's going to be live from London, England. Anywhere from, let's see, we leave on the 6th. I would say anywhere from probably the 8th to the 12th. We're going to have a show, and if we can fit it on a Friday, we're going to do that. We're going to try to get it to where it happens to where we can have our audience to kind of chime in with us, and we're going to share our experiences. It's going to be awesome. The folks there are kind of excited about us coming. We're going to be doing a youth rally and doing some Bible studies and some visiting while we're there, and so just really connecting with the congregation, God's people in that part of the country, and so in that part of the world.
So we got to make sure we get our time right, Paul, because I think it's going to be like, it'll be like 10 a.m. over here, but it's like 4 a.m. or something like that over there. Is that the 6-hour difference? Is that what it is?
It is 6 hours difference. We need to do our show over there when it's 10 o'clock here. And so
yeah, like 4 in the afternoon.
Oh, okay. So that'd be perfect. That'd be perfect.
It'll be perfect. Our day will be nearly over.
We'll be ready. We'll have so many things we've already done. Met the Queen, climbed the Alpha Tower, things like that.
I'm definitely going to go visit William and Kate if we can while we're there, and Megan and Harry while we're over there.
See, is Megan and Harry, are they still together?
They're still together. Yeah, they're having a baby, Paul.
Well, I know they're having a baby, but I heard, one of those, how they say, the little
I just want to do this too, Paul. We need to go in the House of Commons because I want to get up and go, order, order, when they all start yelling at each other. I want to do that.
That's great. Oh, man.
I laugh at us silly Americans.
Those silly Americans. That's us. Silly Americans.
So we'll tell you more about that, and we want you to join and be a part of that with everything that's going on, especially in August when we'll be live from London, England, and bringing the show here to you.
Absolutely. But before we get to the rest of the things we want to talk about today, let's actually talk about our topic for the day. Last weekend we, mostly you, helped put on a convention, and I know you and I did AV in different locations, and so we saw it honestly, I saw it from a different view. I've ever seen it before. But
right.
A lot of fun, a lot of excitement. It's Lads2Leaders. All the kids are excited.
Mm-hmm.
And this year was a different year because it was actually the first year of your office introduced a new award, John. And so I know we want to talk about that, but we also want to talk about just how the weekend went. You had is it 7? Was it 7 locations last week?
Locations, something like that.
Yeah. And then, of course, he'll be going to Denver. The reason why Denver didn't happen last weekend is because of the snow. And so they can get through there. So met Don Moore at Atlanta. He came over to observe, who is the director of Denver and an elder at the congregation that it's hosting. And so it was really neat. Lads2Leaders has been a big part of my life for most all of my life. And I know many preachers, teachers, youth ministers, parents, kids that have been built leaders of our country because of that program. And so, John, I'll kind of sort of pass the ball to you and tell me, what is it's over, you look back, how do you think it went? Give us your thoughts on that.
Well, Paul, it went really, 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 really well. Of course, this is my first year. Sort of.
Really well.
Of course, this is my first year kind of on this side of things like this, so I got to kind of see the ins and outs and just how much work goes into all of these things that take place. With all of that, it was close to 20,000 people we had at all the different locations, and everybody doing things. Of course, you were in Atlanta, I was in Louisville, and Nashville going on, and Brandon, I see Brandon, he was there at the Nashville convention, Memphis, Orlando, Dallas, California. In fact, Roy right now is in Romania. They just completed their convention yesterday. They started Monday and just completed their convention.
How'd that go? Do you have numbers on it?
I don't have numbers, but I've seen videos and different things. It was really, really cool. Like, of course, they're singing in a different language, but they were singing Give Me the Bible. You could tell the tune, but of course it was in a different language and everything. So that was kind of cool. He said it was really good, really organized and everything that they're doing. We did introduce this year a new award called the Red Coat Award. It's for people who have been involved in Lads2Leaders for many years. And it's kind of based on like the Eagle Scout. Like, when you've gone through Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts and all of those things, and you're at the end of it and you're ready to go, it's where you have all the culmination of everything that you've done in scouting, and you get a big project you do. That's kind of what Red Coat is. You've got to qualify by doing so many things, and then you have this huge service project that you're working on and you're doing. And so we had 4 people this year earn the inaugural Red Coat Award.
We had Mackenzie in our color from Macklin Road, and it was really neat how it was presented, and the story and everything, and the video that I'm sure you put together that we showed and everything, and it was really neat. It was very well put together, and it was, I don't know, it was just really cool. In fact, later, Philip Hines, one of the board members, the board directors there for Lads, mentioned that she had 2 or 3 people in her congregation said they want a Red Coat Award now, and so a lot goes with it. They get to have dinner with the board, and so it was communicated that this could become a little expensive for Lads. So
it's not getting all
under napkin, but it was kind of funny, kind of neat.
Brandon said it's Christianity meets the Masters.
It is. I mean, it's literally a red coat if you weren't there, and there is a patch on there that has L2L on it. You said it. You said it perfectly. That's exactly how it is, and it was presented as it was just neat. Now, one thing everybody needs to understand too, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, you must be in 7th grade to qualify.
Right.
But you can already have gathered some of the things you need to get that, but you must be in at least 7th and 12th grade to get that, and you can only get it one time, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. I get it one time. And the mindset is behind all of this. And then this is what even the mindset of whether it's as leaders, whether it's something that you're doing within your youth group or anything like this, is to instill in our young people these things where it's not about getting a coat or about getting an award. It's about making this part of your DNA of who you are, of helping people, of taking leadership in the leadership role in the church, of leading, singing, and speaking and teaching and helping other people and being able to be a well-rounded individual for Christ. And so I don't want that to get lost in all of these things that we're talking about. Is we want this to be instilled in their DNA of who they are.
And John, if you don't mind me even mentioning this, there was a couple of the people that actually received them that haven't always had the best of luck in life.
That's correct.
I won't name names, but there's one student in particular. I was really heard the neat story of not having a father or not having a father figure in the entirety of his life, and he struggled to get there, but he worked hard to get this. And it's something that some kids in general, in life, they're not handed things, or you get a participation trophy and you're like, what is this?
Right.
Everybody has these, but the opportunity to work hard and to work towards a goal, something that when convention is over, you still can use that. I got speeches. I remember United under God. Help me with it was One Nation Under God. I still have that thing. I still have that speech. And there's things in that I still remember. Sometimes I share in teaching and preaching. And so please know that the things that you do, the things that you study, the things you present for convention, it's good. And I think it's something that you can use later in life and really builds you. But also it's an opportunity to be together as God's people, especially on Sunday morning. Sunday morning, to me, is a neat time because that's when you get the majority of the people who come to convention together to worship together, not just to listen to what some of the kids did, but to be able to listen to the word. It's like you listen to it differently. When I'm judging, I'm like, well, do they use the right hand movement? Did they say this right? Did they project? Did they use the room? On Sunday,
hands?
Yeah, the hands. Oh, we should make a video about that. Somebody should make a video about that. I don't know. Maybe we should do it. I don't know. Anyway. We did, actually. It's really good. Look it up. Okay. So, but Sunday's different because you kind of notice, and I did some research on this. I read some things. I've done some research. I've noticed that just because you're on stage doesn't mean you won a trophy. It actually means that you participated, you prepared yourself, and it actually made sense, and it kind of hits the heart. And
right.
So they were singing together. We didn't even have screens for the songs. We didn't need them. They led the songs. We sung the songs. Some of the lessons were really good. And so, I don't know. I just really appreciate, especially them saying, especially for us, Jeff Johnson got up and he said, you know what? Convention of itself is over. Today is the Lord's Day. We're going to talk about the Lord. And yeah, they're going to share some messages they've learned, but we're just listening to it in a whole different way. And it was really cool.
Well, and that's the thing, Paul. By the way, we did have songs on our screens in Louisville, Paul. I just want you to know that.
Some people need the words, I guess.
I want you to be able to say that.
We were
But
smart.
But the thing is, though, it's about encouraging these young people to continue to move forward and to continue to grow. And it's not about the trophy. It's not about the recognition. It's about sitting here growing in Christ and getting opportunities. Because let's face it, Paul, Lads2Leaders is what things like Lads2Leaders is what's gotten a lot of us to move.
Yeah.
To be able to be involved in it. You know as well as I do, if we don't get our kids involved in the Lord's work, even when they're younger, guess what? They're going to be adults that aren't involved in the Lord's work.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be a magic thing that's going to flip one day. Oh, I'm 35 years old. I need to start doing something.
Well, the numbers are real, John. The percentages are real in those that actually do participate in Lads throughout their high school careers and even in college. You know, we have some people that are in college that were able to get scholarships and go to school that otherwise probably wouldn't have been able to, and maybe are in better shape now because of the program. And so participating versus not participating, the numbers are real and they're scary. And I think that should be a motivator in keeping your kids involved in something that allows them to stay in the Bible, stay in the Word, and to learn more and to find out what you know and find out how much you can recall later.
Well, Paul, the numbers are staggering. When you look at we're losing half of our young people, then we've got to do something. I mean, that's statistically that pops out. And of course, the statistic that they've done when they look at research with things like Lads2Leaders is that when you have people who are participating in things like that, there's an 85% chance that they're going to retain them in the church.
Right. Exactly.
So the numbers do speak for themselves. Brandon mentions this, though. He says, I wish they would call it something different than judging. Maybe something like evaluating based off of external criteria that does not equate to spiritual maturity or our thoughts as to salvation of this child communicating this message today.
It just rolls right off the tongue.
It just does.
That's why we have an Edwards in the room.
That's a new video for us, Paul, to make. That's a new judging video coming out here.
All right, let's put all this in perspective. We just finished Lads. We've talked about the experience of the weekend, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's all actually a really good weekend, actually. But we talk about this. We talk about the other events we'll go to, like Inspire and ACON. And at the end of the year, obviously, before the end of the year, we'll be talking about Exposure Youth Camp. And we enjoy these events. We enjoy going. We love the singing. We love the getting together. We love the teams. We love the challenge classes. We love the keynotes. But then I'm never going to forget the words that David Shannon mentioned at Exposure. It may have been 3 or 4 years ago. He literally coined the phrase of the title of our show today, which is, what are you going to do? What are you going to do after you step down off of the summit, the pinnacle of this spiritual high? How are you going to continue that thought? How are you going to continue that feeling? And that's kind of what today is about. Today is about dealing with the aftermath of the spiritual high. And so, in our room, go ahead.
It is a challenge because that's something that we all strive for. We love those mountaintop experiences. We love those summit experiences because that's when we are in one with relationship with our Lord. And then it's also we're kind of like in relationship with each other. And things are man, nothing can go wrong. Everything is kind of attached in there. And it's just flowing. Like A is going to B, going to C, going to D without any hiccups, without anything else. You know, like when we go to camps or when we go to Exposure or whenever we go to CYC or some of those moments, it's just you have these great things. Then what?
Yeah.
Then what?
We talk about the camp. We talk about, and I've heard this, and you may have too, taking camp and trying to put a little bit of it in that glass mason jar.
Right.
Let it there and close that up, and during the year open it up every now and then, get a little bit there, get a little there. But the fact of the matter is, and I don't want to make light of our topic, and I don't want to bring it to a stop in a hurry, but the fact of the matter is, we decide when that high ends. You know, I realize you're motivated by who you're around, and being in youth ministry over 20 years, I'm telling you right now, I've heard it. I know what kids say. They will respond at Exposure 1,000 times over versus the auditorium at home. And the reason why they do that is, and I hope people are listening to this, I hope they understand this, and there's not a lot you can do about it, but people are going to respond around other people who are dealing with the very same things they're dealing with, because teenagers will respond to teenagers. Yes, they respond to youth ministers, and hopefully they'll respond to their parents. But honestly, let's be honest and true to this. When they see other kids and they're mixing with them, especially exposure, just use that as an example, they're mixing with them and they're listening to what's going on in their personal life during like team time. And Inspired is the same thing. Inspired more so, because we get kind of deeper in talking about issues in their life and things that they deal with, and how do you respond to that, and how do you live with that. Once you're around people and they share, I've had some kids, especially Inspired, because of the way it's set up, is people are just sharing some crazy, awesome things. And some things are very sad, and some things are very awesome, and some things are very happy. But they share where they are in their life. And when you see and you can relate to, well, they're dealing with what I'm dealing with. And so I need prayers. They need prayers. Let's just go up and get prayers together. And then, of course, then youth group follows. They go up front, which is great. I'm not opposed to that at all. But they go in support. And so there's something about the camaraderie of teenagers with teenagers that create that mountaintop experience. And how do you take that home with you? Well, you take it home by trying to create unity within your youth group, within your church at home. And that's kind of where you start with, I guess, John, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think understanding the whole thing. Got some wonderful comments that are coming in here. I kind of want to mention here. Brandon simply put it this way. He says, we go to the mountains to prepare for the valleys. Mm-hmm. You're going to have valleys in your life. And so these mountaintop experiences give us that faith, give us that oomph to be able to handle these moments in those valleys. Frodo commented there, and he says, I've told my teens that they need to maintain these relationships with each other and with God, so that when we return to normal life and something hits you right in the face, you'll be prepared, you'll be equipped to handle difficult stuff. And I think back, to add the biblical perspective, I think back, of course, everybody probably will think this automatically is 1 Kings 18 with Elijah on Mount Carmel. He has this huge mountaintop experience where he sees the awesome power of God. God's power is on display. He has these things where he goes to the prophets of Baal. He ends up winning. They end up doing these things. But then you go to chapter 19. He's just had this huge mountaintop experience. And what is he doing? He's now scared of Jezebel and Ahab. And he's scared to death running in a cave, and he's all depressed. And I think it's only like 4 verses into 1 Kings 19, if I can remember off the top of my head, he's already saying, God, let me die.
Yeah.
So you have this huge mountaintop experience. The next scene, he's in a valley, and he's like, and so even these great people of the Bible struggle with certain things like this, if that makes sense. And so these things do prepare us. Boy, something's going on with my face right there, Paul, according to the video.
I was wondering if it was
I don't know, like angelic being coming across my head or something like that.
Invisible.
Yeah. But Frodo does say it's our job, along with elders, to help equip our youth and adults. And are we equipping them for these valleys and just celebrating mountaintop experience and doing nothing about it?
Let's talk about that for a minute. And I appreciate Frodo for making that comment. In fact, I liked it in the group, so everybody go there, look, see what he put there. We have a responsibility as adults that after an event to try to recreate an event. It seems like after an event, we come back, we think, okay, you put your hands on your hips and you're looking around, you're like, what's the next thing we're going to do? No, don't forget, you just have these kids that came down off this mountain, and we're trying to maintain their spirituality on a high level. You're going to lose that if you just forget about it. Let's move on to the next thing. No, don't move on to the next thing. Let's keep that thing that worked great. Let's move that momentum through and branch out and get other people excited about how excited they are. And you do that in different ways. Sometimes I know I've done this in the past congregations I've been at. I get kids to write thank you notes to the elders. But maybe some of these kids need to, I don't know, make videos or get them in front of the congregation and just share their experiences at these events and get people to get excited about it too. And what happens with that is they say, well, why don't we go to the event? That's fine. Bring your adults, bring your families. I want them to be a part of it too. And John's really appreciating and enjoying the fact that his head's not there anymore. But I got to do all talking. But it is. It's neat to share with congregation your experiences, and that's the only way that you're going to be able to maintain those is to share it with others.
It is, and that's the thing. That's where I know that we're talking about with things like we do with exposure and what we try to do with Inspire and AimCon and all these things. I know that we've done over the years, trying with our youth group, is to try to keep that going by having that interaction with the people, by us encouraging them to keep that going. It's hard when people get back to real life, Paul. It is. It's rough when people get back and you get away from that fellowship. That's why Christian fellowship is so important with each other. That's why it's so vitally important that we stick with each other. When the Bible says you bear one another burden, when the Bible says you rejoice with those who rejoice, you weep with those who weep, you've got to have fellowship with each other in order to keep that going.
Absolutely. And I think that's one thing that's the key to it all, is just to keep that, not to shut the door and slam the door on an event. Okay, event's over, let's move on.
Right.
If you move on, bring it with you and talk about it and explain it. In most cases, I'm just speaking from just exposure side of things, a congregation usually doesn't show up and go home without someone being affected, whether needing prayers or having a baptism or just learn something different or new or creative in a challenge class or heard something from a keynote speaker. We're affected by this thing. And the only way to be affected by these things is to be committed to them. So if you're not attending exposure or other events like that, find something that works for your congregation, for you, preferably exposure, AimCon, Inspire, those are good ones, and make commitments to be a part of these things.
Paul's doing it.
And be a part of the atmosphere, because it's good atmosphere. And, we're talking about coming down off that mountain. You don't have to come down off that mountain. I realize, you're right. There are summit points in life, and there are valley opportunities in life. And Brandon had a great point with that earlier, is the summit points prepare you for, or the mountaintop points prepare you for the valley stuff. And go with that. Fill the valleys up with the good stuff to meet yourself on that mountaintop.
Brandon had a great thing here, Paul. One thing you and I have seen over the last 20 years is the, and I'm going to use this word, and I know some people are freak with it, the evolution of youth ministry in the last 20 years. We've gone from the 90s, where we were basically at the beginning, in the early 90s, we were basically event coordinators with some Bible. And then we really started shifting and understanding about getting more ministry involved and spirituality involved and Bible involved and growing our young people in their faith. And then it kind of switched and went even further with family ministry and doing everything like that, to now, and I think Brandon brings a good point, what happens when they leave that youth group and then they college. He says this: it's also one of the major reasons we are losing so many once they hit college. They long for the community they shared in high school at these great events and gatherings, and then there's often nothing. They see community, probably it's a problem that needs to be solved. That's the huge thing, because think about it. Unless you're going to a Christian college, or unless you're going to a state school, which our state schools are doing better, and our local congregations at state schools are doing better about setting up college ministries. And going to a Christian college, you lose that community a lot of times.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Think of all the groups you've had over the year, Paul, and how they were so bound together. And then when they disappeared or they separated out, that's when trouble really started coming for them.
When the trouble happens when you leave the church, and that ultimately happens whenever you leave home. And you're used to being there. Your parents are used to going there. They're used to seeing you there. We just need to understand the importance of togetherness, of unity, of being together and dealing with it. And so you just have to stay in touch. You have to, while you have them. That's why it's so important. Just speaking to youth ministers and to parents, mostly to parents, but youth ministers, that when you are raising a child, when you are ministering to children, you have a really big responsibility in instilling them the importance of being a part of the kingdom and being with kingdom people and being with Christians. And just because you graduate high school doesn't mean you turn it off, because God's still there and he's still watching. And one day we're still going to answer for the things we do. And so that's why we have to stay faithful and loving him and being with him and being with his people and sharing that message with others so that other people can also enjoy that. So
right.
I think that's something we need to think about and considering that.
I think so. And I think also understanding that there are going to be those valleys that we come back into in life and those moments where that summit experience is going to help push us through those moments. And it's also going to keep pushing us. I like how you sat back and you said, Paul, that we're constantly going up. We're constantly going up. There isn't a stop. We don't stop until we hit the end of life.
Right.
Brandon put in here, he said, I constantly mourn the loss of so many wonderful teens who've left church because far too often, and this may be his personal opinion, he says, but far too often, we expect them to turn 60 the second they graduate from high school. The transit, I can't even say the word today, sorry, Brandon, times of our life, outside of youth ministry is one of the most overlooked aspects in the church. When we're transitioning from one moment to another part of life, I mean, you and I can sit here and say now that when we're in our 40s, things are even a little bit different than what it was when we were in our 30s even, and 20s, even how we approach ministry, how we look at ministry, how we look at things in the church. And so especially going from that 18, 19, 20-year-old that's going from high school to college and still trying to figure themselves out, we as a church, we do need to do a better job. And for everybody who's watching this, to take and pay some close attention to those young people that are transitioning from high school to young adulthood,
Yeah.
and they're walking in their faith.
Very well said. I agree with that. That's definitely something we need to consider and keep in mind. It's a job that continues until the Lord returns. And the Lord returns, we get to do it for eternity, and it's going to be the reward that awaits us. So.
Yep. And let me add this right here that Frodo just did, so we can transition to our next segment of the show. He does say this. He says it does start with the parents. We've got to show that kingdom work is a priority.
Oh, absolutely.
Your kids will see that and they'll watch it and go right through.
There you go. Yeah, great points. Great words from wise man, Frodo and Bonan and Brandon. So.
Oh, the angelic look is coming back now.
Yeah, there we go.
Here it is, kind of cool.
So it's pretty neat. Okay, so transition into our verses series in just a minute. But as Caleb gets us ready for that, real quick, John, what was your thoughts last night? Or do you know how things went with the NFL draft? Has there been a bigger response in the draft hall than what occurred on Broad Street in Nashville last night?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that there is, Paul, because the draft was interesting last night for a couple of different reasons. But Nashville was legit on the chain last night.
Nashville is probably what they would call off the hook last night.
Yes.
They are, now to be honest, they're preparing for a Super Bowl. They're vying for a Super Bowl, and so putting 250,000 people down Broad Street watching the draft is a good way to get things started on that.
That's very good started. I wonder, Brandon, were you there for that?
Probably. At least he heard it. It was had to been close enough.
I know. Say.
Were you shocked? Were there any things you were shocked by when with the top 32?
Yes. To me, the biggest shock of the draft so far has been the New York Giants drafting Daniel Jones from Duke.
Okay, I thought that same thing too. I was like, hello, Eli Manning. But for the past 3 years, they've been trying to push Eli out and seeing what they can bring in. And is Daniel Jones the future of the Giants? Is that what's happening? Or is it because Cutcliffe is a Manning fan, but he pushed. But I think why he pushed it is he wants there to be at least 1 year, if not 2, when Daniel Jones can spend time with Eli. And I think that will nothing but help him. And that's got
with that.
Yeah.
Well, I agree completely with that. And I think that's why I'm just shocked that they drafted them as high as they did when you had other quarterbacks that were there that may be better. I don't think Eli's going anywhere yet. I think it's going to be I hope it doesn't turn into a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers situation where they ended up hating each other for a little bit. But I do hope it's mentoring of Daniel Jones, gets to learn under Eli for a year or two and then move on. That, to me, that's the biggest shock of the draft.
One thing, too, about that, and that was mine as well. If you put Daniel Jones standing side by side with Eli Manning and watch their games and watch their throw style, the Giants have gone opposite from what churches do.
Yes, they did.
Because if churches get rid of or lose a preacher or a youth minister, they go opposite. Either they go really young from a mature
Yep.
guy who knows what he's doing, or they go if they had a young guy, they'll go really old, or they'll change the mentality of how that works. But the Giants, they got Eli Manning 2.0 because Daniel Jones throws the ball just like Eli does, and he looks like him. I mean, you put them side by side, you put a hat on. I don't know the part. It's crazy. Pretty funny.
Well, as to say, Andrew Thompson's joined us now, and I know he was down there last night. And he says that the crowd, when Daniel Jones was announced, was like quite shocked and was like an audible wow.
Yeah, it's like, what's happening here? But something else was at play. I mean, they're not getting him just to kick Eli out. Although you could give him Eli's jersey, nobody would know the difference, except for his experience, of course. But anyway, one thing that was not a shock to me was something that Cliff Kingsbury called back in January, whenever he said he would do this. He's a man of his word, and that's Kyler Murray going to the Cardinals. I'm kind of excited about it. He has nothing around him, so
he has zero around him.
He'll have to throw it right there and catch the ball.
Yeah, if he can see over the line, it'll be interesting. Some people are saying, is this now an era where short quarterbacks are you're going to see a move of where short quarterbacks come in. Going to be interesting. I always hate for the quarterbacks that get drafted number 1 or number 2 or number 3 because they're going to a team that has nothing. That's why they're up that high.
Yeah. That's true.
I hate that. And then they usually get beat up for a couple of years and they go and they're about out of the league. So that's going to be interesting in there.
The SEC owned the top 32 from Devin White to three Bama guys getting in there, especially with Quentin Williams getting number 3. Glad he got 3. I had to go to the Jets, but it is what it is. Pretty excited about Joshua Jacobs going to the Raiders, though. The Raiders really trying to make good on those 3 top round 1 picks there.
It's interesting because Brandon mentioned Peter Farrell being picked at 4 by the Raiders. But Gruden and the front office, my sources told me that they were going to do something that nobody was expecting, and they did when they drafted Farrell. I do think if Quentin Williams would have dropped, they would have had to pick him.
Yeah, I think so too.
At number 3, number 4. But it is interesting. I am. Some people, they really criticized the Raiders last year and what Gruden did. I'm wondering if he's showing some that evil genius coming out.
Got rid of 2 superstars. He did. With Mack and Amari, I don't get it. But Amari Cooper wasn't performing.
Yeah.
As far as goes, which is I don't understand why, but he sure was once he got to Dallas. But anyway, the Masters, John. Let's hit this real quick. The verses.
Okay.
Not much to say except this is the comeback story for Tiger
Wow.
Woods. No one loves his way he lives, his lifestyle, but the story. What I love the most was when he won it the first time, his dad greeting him at that hill, and this time his son greeting him at that same hill. It's a neat story. You don't love the morals of the guy, but the story itself really helped out golf, I thought.
Man, let me tell you something. And I don't watch golf. But I guess the Masters, were we here? Was I in Montgomery? I hadn't left yet. I can't remember. My days are so mixed up now. They started it early because we had that storm coming through.
Yeah.
And everybody was worried about it, so they started earlier. So everybody knew by the time church was done, or before church was finished, that he had won. And so I went home that afternoon, and I was like, I'm going to watch this. I want to see it. And I haven't watched golf. Not that I watch golf, because it's about as boring as watching paint dry, unless you're playing it. Then that crowd, the way that the people followed them, his just how he kept his emotions under control until he finally had won. It was amazing, and it's really what golf needed, and it is the comeback story of the year. Like you said, definitely don't care for his morals, don't care about any of that stuff, because it's definitely wouldn't agree with his lifestyle, but man, what a story.
Yeah, it was great.
Hey, all of us old people feel like we can still do stuff, Paul.
That's right. That's right. Thanks for throwing me in there with you. Okay. Yes. So that being said, we have a discussion to have right now, and one thing we haven't discussed yet is the Versus series for next. So if you would like to get in the room and be thinking about what we should be discussing for next week, as John will be in Denver, we need to be thinking about the Versus series for next week. Maybe it could be Denver thematic. I don't know.
Should we be illegal or not?
Aspen versus Destin. I don't know. Let's say. Oh, that's good. Rockies versus Smokies. Okay, that's a good one. Okay. Okay, that's cool. Oh, that's funny. So be thinking about the Versus series for next week. John, you got something to say, and then we're about to get into it.
Yes. Remember our Versus series from a couple of weeks ago? I did go to White Castle. I was in Louisville. I did go to a White Castle finally.
How'd it go?
I still like Crystals.
Yeah.
Burger.
Pretty consistent with what Melvin said. Was it greasy or no?
Yeah. They do have more options. Like I thought about you. They have crab cake burger type things.
Oh, cool.
And I thought of you. I almost bought one just for you and brought it back home, but I figured it would be molded by that time.
Probably so. Yeah, most definitely. Well, let's get to it, I guess. This is the Versus series.
Caleb looks so excited back there.
Nothing just happened. That's great. This is the Versus series. And we're supposed to talk now?
We're good.
Okay. Good. All right. So everyone's frozen. I'm in a tundra of internet. Okay. Hashtag tundra of internet. That's pretty funny. Okay. I thought that was funny. I'm the only one. It's okay. Okay. So we're in the Versus series. It's almost summertime. School's out. Here it's out. The third week of May, last week of May, and so we're facing vacation decision time. And so this Versus series is not based on vacation spots, but in generalities, we're introducing Universal Studios versus Disney. And so we have the votes they're in. I don't know what they are. If they're the same as they were about a week ago, it seemed like it was an overwhelming Disney over Universal, but I think that's because people don't go to Universal as much.
That's my peeps. Go Disney.
So that's something to consider. And honestly, we're kind of on both sides of this. I think, well, I don't think John's on both sides. I think he hates Universal. I don't know what his deal is. But I will say this for Disney and all things Disney, all things Universal. I love that Disney is making the real life movies following the cartoons of 20 years ago. With The Lion King.
Yes.
With The Jungle Book, and also with Aladdin. Will Smith as the genie. That's legit awesome. I can't wait to watch that.
I saw last night when I was at the movie theater watching a movie that we will not mention since Paul's getting at me. Yes, I went and saw Avengers Endgame last night. But
this is not that Versus.
What?
This is not that Versus series.
It's not a Versus series. But they showed the preview for The Lion King, and I didn't realize James Earl Jones is actually going to be Mufasa in it again. That was really cool.
That's neat. Same as before. So Disney's doing great things with movies. Let's talk about that for a minute. When we talk about movies, from Disney, of course, you and I have an affinity towards a certain area of movies that Disney recently, within the past 4 or 5 years, purchased the rights for through Lucasfilms, and that is the Star Wars anthology. All things Star Wars now belongs to Disney. So obviously, kudos to Disney for that. But honestly, and I think this is why it's overwhelming, even as children, us as children, our parents as children, I think we've noticed Disney has owned the movie gambit when it comes to what kids like and what kids do, and they try to evolve. Disney's done a lot from the movies to the channel, to the shows, to the music, and so they've been busy. There's no doubt about that.
They have been very busy. I'll say this, and let me be fair. Growing up in Florida, I was used to going to Disney at least once, twice a year. Universal was there, Epcot, all those things. So I was used to doing that for many years until I came to Faulkner, and then of course I don't go back to Florida too often much anymore. But when I was there, I remember the first time going to Universal, I was just like, this is just like a giant movie that you're sitting in, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And so I was not a big fan of it. Never been a big fan of it. But things may have changed over the years, so let me be fair with what I'm saying.
Disney has not changed over the years. Disney World is the same today as it was when you were a teenager.
How do you change what is already good?
They at least need to whitewash the walls. I mean, I'm sorry, it just looks old.
It looks old in there.
As you lived in Jacksonville growing up, I lived in Orlando. Not growing up, but at least for 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to go to Disney a couple times a year, just like you got to. Most people did. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. The Rock and Roller Coaster. Space Mountain.
Classic. That's the first roller coaster I ever rode, Paul.
Yeah. I mean, it was awesome. Somewhere else. I was going to say chaos, but that's somewhere else. But anyway, the fact is, nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed in the park, we moved from movies to the park, but in the park, the stormtroopers are walking mall cops, which is fine with me, and being a Star Wars fan. But other than that, it really hasn't changed. We did the park at Labor Day 2 years ago. We went everywhere. I mean, that was tired by the time that day was over with. We went to Epcot. We went to the Tomorrowland. We went to the Animal Kingdom. We went to Magic Kingdom. We went to Everywhere Kingdom. And all of them have different things that are great. One thing that I was a little disappointed in is MGM Studios, because the movie ride's not there anymore. I don't know. It didn't maintain what I liked. But then the next day we went to Universal. And so being a movie fan, a superhero movie fan, Universal's the ticket. It depends on what you like, what you want, but Disney has the votes. My vote's split because that Spider-Man.
You came back liking Universal.
I did, and I
really
go back.
Came back. I remember that.
Awesome. Especially if you've watched or read any of the Harry Potter movies, or read the books. I mean, they have recreated that book. I mean, it is that. You got the. There's just so many different things.
And it says that there's some magic there at the Harry Potter world.
Oh yeah, because you get your and you get to get your wand and then wear your colors and all that stuff, and then they have drinks there. They have the movie, so
I'm going.
Oh, it was awesome.
I'm going to Harry Potter World.
Hey, why is it that we're taking a key and to London, but we're not going anywhere near a theme park? Do you know how awesome that would be if we were at a theme park and we could do something like that? Would be cool.
We could vlog, Paul. We could vlog
from the Superman. Yeah, that'd be good.
From the ride in there. What else in there? Andrew Thompson said that MGM's still trying to figure out its own branding now that movies are not the main focus of the park anymore. Oh, there's the votes right there on the screen right there. Disney won 66-34% on our poll.
Wow. Yeah. Overwhelming. But it's longer. It's got 2 parks. And obviously, if we did a Orlando versus California, Orlando would kill California.
Sure.
My understanding is California is half the size, if not less than that, than
is it?
Orlando offers. Yeah, big time. But it's Disney. What do you do? May the force be with you, and enjoy it always, I guess. But
go Disney.
If you're a Marvel fan, though, you're going to say Universal, especially this weekend.
Yes, you will.
Yeah.
No spoilers, because Frodo said he'll log off.
No. Oh, okay. So everybody dies. No kidding. They don't all die. I haven't seen it, so what do I know? So your vote is Disney. Is that right, John?
My vote is Disney. Come on, you know you want Universal.
I'm going Universal just because I love the park. I think the park is worth a trip. It's worth is it? But is it worth the $120 to get in the front gate for one day? I'm not sure.
That's why you live in the state of Florida. That's another reason I haven't gone, because when I lost my Florida residencies always get a huge discount.
I have friends in Florida. I have friends in Orlando.
Yes, we both have friends in Orlando.
Rhonda, Rhonda and Halo. What's up? Let's see soon. And then Rabina, I got another friend in Orlando that just contacted me this week about coming down, hanging out. So anyway, this has been the Versus series. John, anything else you want to say before we get out of here on the Versus series?
Man, nothing left on the Versus series except go Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, Disney won. Disney and Luke Skywalker are supreme because it is all about Mickey. The Skywalkers. For sure.
Rise of the Skywalker.
So that is the Versus series. Tune in next week for another installment of the Versus series. We'll bring it to you live, brought to you by adventuresministry.com. And that is the end of Versus series. Doors closed. And let's continue. And to say to continue means we're done here today, I think.
Yeah, hey, Paul, we do want to remind everybody, go check out the page and go check out our new series that we do have going on, a new show that we have going on. Our producers, Caleb Sampson, his wife, started her new series.
Yeah, Kristen Sampson has the Her podcast, so check that out. If you can't find it anywhere, go on social media. You will find it. If nothing else, go to adventuresministry.com and find all things there, not just them, but also the Ministry Zoo and this show and Chad Landman's show, as well as Andrew and Eric's show is on there as well. So a lot of information. There's no short of information that AIM has to offer when it comes to things on that as well. I just got a note from Kentucky asking about podcast slot time, and so I will let them know we're doing it now. So this is it. But anyway, this has been the John and Paul Show. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at John and Paul Show. Send us an email at thejohnandpaulshow@gmail.com and go to the website at johnandpaulshow.com. I am Paul Sperlin. The guy with the brush on the other side is John Podine. Caleb Sampson behind the glass. Thanks for being here for the John and Paul Show. Thanks to Allons and Palisades and Lads2Leaders and adventuresinministry.com. I'm Paul Sperlin for the crew. Thanks for being here. We look forward to seeing you next week. God bless.
Today's show is brought to you by Adventures in Ministry. Check them out at adventuresinministry.com or go to the Google Play Store or iTunes App Store and download today. Also brought to you by Exposure Youth Camp, or EYC. It's hosted at the end of each year. This year it will be December 27th through the 30th, and you can find out more by going to exposureyouthcamp.com or get the apps today. Also brought to you by the Palisades Church of Christ, located in Birmingham, Alabama. Check them out at palisadesfamily.net. The schedule of the John and Paul Show coming up. If you have the opportunity to be with them, check it out. Or go to our website, johnandpaulshow.com, to know more. Of course, we want to invite you to come back next Friday at 10 a.m. Lord willing. We'll be with you to have all the ministry talk and the sports talk as well. Hope you go out and make it a great day.